Hello everyone, welcome to a new update for the crypto market. It's a video where we're gonna run a full update here for the main coin and of course for Bitcoin. Sorry for my voice and of course excuse me that this weekend I couldn't run any live streams because I'm very sick. My voice is very bad. I cannot really run any kind of live streams. So I'm gonna try my best of course to run the updates here with this video. Basically, with Bitcoin here, we saw, of course, on Friday a pump toward the upside. Of course, we still inside the base channel. We couldn't leave the base channel. And even with the pump that we had on Friday, we see the price is still inside this corrective channel, which is, of course, kind of like a bad signal for Bitcoin that we might have topped over there. And we would like to see a first phase here broken off. Yeah, we want to see a broken channel as a first phase in case we still bullish. Currently, this did not happen. And we still, of course, potentially here impulsive on the lower time frame on the 1 hour chart. You can see that you might have here an impulse 5 waves downward. And of course, we might see continuation for lower prices. Now this has transformed to something, of course, as an ABC with this pump towards the upside. You might have here a 1, 2, and then wave 3, 4, and a 5 finish there, an A, B, and a C. Might be a wave 2, be careful, of course, with it as a 1, 2, and dropping towards lower prices. Yep, so this is currently the potential scenario that it might happen today for Bitcoin. We're gonna see if we of course continue massively. Therefore, of course, this would be the signal for Bitcoin that it is done. We don't have any bull run anymore, and this might be of course your wave B top here by all means. We have of course an expanding flat here as a wave B finished. Yeah, we have an A, B, and a C towards the 70, 73, and 67 K for Bitcoin. And we might see, of course, a bull run that it might start for wave 3 from that price after having a wave 2 exactly here. So this is my update for Bitcoin. This is the highest probability still, of course, until at least we get the signal by breaking this channel. When we break this channel, then we talk about something else, which it might be bullish. Now we have, of course, several scenarios for the bullish, which it might be here. The first ending diagonal, like all your wave 5 is gonna end up as a diagonal. However, this diagonal still needs, of course, lows, a price or lower prices here as a wave 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Another scenario is, of course, an ending diagonal that it might, of course, move towards the upside, but we need to break, of course, the corrective channel. Another scenario here, of course, is the ending diagonal for this wave, potentially here as an A, B, and a C, which it might still, of course, ends up as a wave B over there in case we finish as an ending diagonal here. Now, finally, of course, we have this small ending diagonal as well, which it might, of course, continue for higher. Again, your signal for this is a broken channel, blue channel here for this area. You want to see this broken and continuation toward the upside. And anyway, of course, this might be a wave 5, and it might be, of course, the last move for Bitcoin, and that we drop down, of course, for a major wave 2. For the Bitcoin dominance, we can see that the Bitcoin dominance has already reached the target perfectly. We see, of course, a finished impulse toward the downside. We see a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. The wave 5 is a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Your wave 5 is almost can be finished. Now it can extend a little bit because you have kind of like a big 1, 2 here. It can be your wave 3. You can have a wave 4 and a 5 still. But internally, it can be already finished. On the 1 hour chart, we can see as well that it is finishing here as an ending diagonal. And when we see ending diagonal, meaning, of course, something is done and finished over there, we might see, of course, the Bitcoin dominance moving towards the upside here and moving towards the upside, meaning a reversal for the market. We might see, of course, a drop down for the major altcoins there. And if Bitcoin still have some weakness, we might see, of course, a drop down for Bitcoin at the same time. Now moving to SUI on the daily here, we might have a potential drop down, of course, continuation toward the downside. Despite, of course, the move for higher here, it can still be an ABC for another 1, 2, and then you might have, of course, kind of like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 toward the downside. This is a 5 waves downward already, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you might have a correction here. It can be already finished and you continue for lower here. On the 2 hours chart, you can see that, of course, that we might still be corrective, and that means, of course, in case you get a correction, you might get an A, B, and a C, and we might still, of course, continue after this drop toward the downside. And that because, of course, I'm not bullish anymore, and that because, of course, we have hit already all the invalidation for the 1 2s, guys. So basically, this is what I'm talking about here. This one, where we took exactly the invalidation of bullish, meaning all your 1 2s that we had before as a 1 2 1 2 1 2 here have been invalidated with this single drop toward the downside. As you can see, it took even the low there, and it took even the 886 of the first 1 2. That means, of course, it's gone, guys. So this has transformed to W, X, and a Y, and I believe, of course, that this is kind of a leading diagonal, A, B, and a C. So be careful from the ABC expanding flat here. The wave C is the pump that we saw, of course, on Friday, and it might drop toward the downside after, of course, 1 2 1 2 and 3 4 5 4 5. And that means, of course, in a bigger view here, you might be in a 1 and A, B, C again for wave 2. We might still see, of course, lower prices for the old coins, unless, of course, there is a potential scenario here for a triangle, but this is also is going to lead for lower prices. Now, an indication that, of course, we are going for higher here is to see higher prices, taking the high here after a correction, if this is going to transform to a correction. Now, we might see, of course, a wave C, but in that case scenario, it depends where this correction is going to finish. We're going to take the 1 to 1 fib level and, of course, measure it from there. If broken, therefore, it can be, of course, something bullish unfolding still. But yeah, the possibility is a little bit low for the scenario because you don't have any more good impulse toward the upside. If you want to take all of this as a 1 2 here, like a wave 1, the only way to take it is, of course, an expanding diagonal, which is a very, very rare case scenario. Plus, it doesn't look perfect as an expanding diagonal because the wave 5 is not longer than the wave 3. It should be very much longer. And this is not a good scenario, of course, for this, especially that the wave 2 took the 886, meaning nothing here is bullish still for a SUI. If we move to render, the render also did the same. He took the all invalidation of all the 1 2s here. We don't have any kind of impulse. The wave 4 is interfering with zone 1. Same as for SUI, a very massive drop here in 5 waves. Be careful from the wave 2. It might be, of course, ABC and then dropping down for lower. And this, of course, is corrective wave right now. It might be even deeper. 1 2 3 4 5 can have another wave C and then dropping down, or simply in 1 2 1 2 and dropping very massively directly. So we gotta be careful with this one too. So for render also, we're looking in a bigger view here for a potential triangle. Yeah, so the triangle is very likely here for a render, and that means, of course, if you are in a triangle, meaning you have finished a wave there, and you're looking here for A, B, C, D, and a E, and you might, of course, drop down after having a wave B here. So we might be in a big A, B, and a C toward the downside, which is on the daily, of course. You're still looking for a bigger 1 2 here, meaning a big 1 and then wave 2 there and then moving toward the upside. So this triangle is very likely as well, so be careful with it because it has started to show up much more and more here. Okay, the targets, of course, for this drop might be the following targets: 1 to 1 fib level, yes, at 1.29. Very low prices, unfortunately, but it might not take the low so much. But we're gonna see, of course, it might just looking for one more low there in the box of opportunity again, and then moving for higher. For FET as well, we are looking here at something very corrective. Obviously, it's shifting to something like a correction in a triangle. But yeah, in this case, in case we are still looking for lower, we're still searching for our fib levels as a 1-2, meaning ABC here still potential for FET before we continue the move towards the upside. If we dive inside it on the 2 hour chart, you can see clearly that this is turning into consolidation. And it might be, of course, here a potential wave one, A, B, C, D, and an E. Probably can be, of course, something as a triangle and we drop down. Or it can be definitely an A and then B, and you're looking here for kind of like a double one twos because it can be you didn't took the high, it can be double one two, so be careful with it. It might be a little bit deeper correction, or in case you want to take it as a zigzag, it can be definitely, of course, an ending diagonal here as an A, B, and a C. The wave C is your ending diagonal to hit this area, so you have several scenarios for this one to the lower prices. Now, the thing is, on the 1 hour chart for FET is that you still have an intact bullish scenario here. Very interesting, where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5, knowing that, of course, you have here potentially 5 waves down as a 1, 2. So we have to be careful with it. This looks like a perfect 5 waves leading diagonal here. And you might have, of course, a correction ABC and then dropping down. But if this is not an impulse, therefore, of course, you have to take it as a W, X, and kind of like a wave Y there. And we might, of course, drop down the same as for all the altcoins. Therefore, I'm because, of course, all the altcoins are have invalidated this move to the upside. I start to doubt this to be, of course, a great impulse. I'm doubting that this might be, of course, kind of like W, X, and a Y. So we gotta be careful with it. It might be a trap here with the wave for not invalidating, of course, the zone one, and that it's kind of like mimicking an impulse. But the clear signal is in this wave here, where you have kind of like a weird move toward the upside here, which it doesn't look like a great impulse, which it might, of course, be kind of like ABC here as a zigzag. Yep. So these are the possibilities for FET. Potentially, you're still also looking for lower, at least here for a bigger correction a little bit as well. If we move to Ethereum, Ethereum well is the only coin that it shows really new highs and higher prices. Ethereum is performing great, I would say, and still, of course, corrective in the top. Many times we were confused, of course, with this scenario here, where we might have a more uptrends, but basically I would say for Ethereum, you have to be careful because even this can be, of course, a potential zigzag unfolding as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. As you can see, you have 1, 2 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Wave 5 might finish here, and it might be, of course, an expanding flat here as a wave B. So this scenario here, as you can see, you are in the perfect area for an expanding flat, which it might be an ABC, and you might, of course, still drop down for the testing area that we have in this zone. Yeah, so as an A, B, and a C, so we might see, of course, a very massive wave C towards the downside, of course, which it can be, of course, your 1, 2, and then moving towards higher prices after double 1, 2s here. Yep. So this is regarding Ethereum. Well, I'm not worried about Ethereum on the daily because on the daily we are in a good position. We have already invalidated the triangle. We went out of this consolidation and we might continue for higher, but it might simply need, of course, a correction. Now, it cannot be really 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 here. I believe this is going to transform into double 1, 2, guys. So this is what I'm seeing right now. We might see, of course, a 1, 2, and then 3, 4, and a 5 here in the gray scenario. So by all means, most of the altcoins might still looking for lower currently, including, of course, Ethereum after double 1, 2, because anyway, you have finished, of course, 5 waves toward the upside. So it is a time for a correction here. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 is done and finished, and definitely this is kind of like expanding flat for lower prices. Yes, this is regarding FET injective finally, where we have for injective on the daily here. We might still look for potentially lower in case, of course, of invalidation, but actually injective is showing somehow also nice prices where you saw, of course, the blue box hit here after having a potential 1 2, another 1 2. And here, if this is a leading diagonal, or yeah, which I doubt it a little bit because the wave 5 is longer, kind of like longer than the wave 3, I prefer to see here several 1 2s, where of course you have invalidated the third one. You might be in a 1 A, B, and a C wave 2 here, and then moving toward the upside, 1 2 1 and a 2. But we gotta be careful with it because it might transform to something, yeah, something corrective. Be careful with it. If this, of course, wants to continue for higher, you would like to see the high taken, and we gotta be careful, of course. Here it might be kind of like 5 ways again. This might turn into a W, X, and a Y here, and then having, of course, a leading diagonal wave 1, wave 2, and then dropping down. So yeah, be careful. In general, the altcoins might still seek for a little bit higher. Probably, we want, if we see higher prices after this potential correction and this pump, and we still, of course, correcting here, unless it transformed to 5 waves. Be careful. Once it transformed to 5 waves, therefore, okay, it's done. We drop down. But if we see, of course, higher prices taking the high here, directly we're gonna estimate the 1 to 1 fib level. If broken and we see higher prices, okay, something bullish is unfolding despite, of course, the invalidation. I don't know. It's gonna be definitely a different scenario. But until that time, yeah, we might lay it down. Currently, I don't see any bullish scenario, honestly. But of course, Injective and Ethereum is very understandable. They are performing really great. And FET as well, showing, of course, a potential of an impulse. But Sui and Render showing already invalidation for the bull run. So we might, of course, seek for new lows anyway, and with those new lows, we might unfold a new bull run, which it might not be very, very deep correction, guys. It might be, of course, simply taking the last low and then, of course, start to move toward the upside again. Yep, so these are the updates for the crypto market. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your likes and comments, and see you in the next one. I hope when I get much better. Bye bye.